Hello, everybody. This is the Digital Somerset podcast. My name's Charlie. I work for ADPR. We're one of the partners for Digital Somerset. We're here today with Tasha Astill from Bridgwater and Taunton College, who is the business and relationship manager over there. Hi,
Hello.
Tash.
Hello, hi.
Hi. And we're also joined by Paul Coles, who is the CEO of Southwest Business Council. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Charlie. Hi, Tash.
Hi. We're here today to talk about cyber resilience in Somerset. We'll start with what are the key trends that you're seeing in cyber resilience at the moment?
Tash, do you want to start? If not, I'm quite happy to open up.
If you start, I've got some bits and pieces here, but yeah, if you go ahead.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thank you for the invite today, Charlie, and it's great to meet Tash. I should say, alongside the CEO role, I also sit on the board of the Southwest Cyber Resilience Centre. So cyber is something that frequently pops up in my life. It's a really important subject for both business and education. And I think in terms of key trends, I'm going to paint probably a negative, but also a positive. And I'll start with a negative, and that is, in the cyber threat world, it's only getting more dangerous. We are seeing the capability and the sophistication of cyber attackers grow day by day. You can now pay someone to hack for you. You don't have to do it yourself. And AI and machine learning has made the sophistication around cyber attacks even greater. And of course, the risk is, especially for an economy that is driven largely by SMEs, as ours is in the Southwest, that these good folk don't have the expertise to employ or the time to employ people to look after this issue around cyber. So they're somewhat at greater risk, I feel, which is why organizations like the Southwest Cyber Resilience Centre is there to help protect them, because it's really important. They're often chief cook and bottle washer, so they need outside support on this stuff. So I think that the threat is growing. That's why we've seen the government's new campaign, Stop Think Fraud. But I now want to flip to the positive, and that is, I would strongly argue that if you look at the cyber expertise across the Southwest, that it is probably leading in UK, probably leading in Europe, and possibly leading in the world. We have tremendous expertise around cyber, whether it's government agencies like GCHQ in Cheltenham and actually down in Cornwall, plus active cyber networks across the Southwest. We have the ability through some of our brilliant businesses to help counter that threat and work hand in hand in our businesses to keep them safe and enable them to prosper. So yes, threat is increasing, but equally we have brilliant talent in the Southwest that can help counter it. So a bit of a long opener, but hopefully that gives you some sense of where I see the key trends.
Yeah.
And how about you, Tash?
Yeah, Paul, completely agree. I mean, I'm glad you brought up SMEs, because when I was sort of researching this podcast, I was thinking, it's all very well. We're coming from a position of privilege, aren't we? Because we work for large organisations and we kind of understand the threat. We may have had some incidents where we've learned massively from what's out there and what the negatives are. But I do think there's a growing need in SMEs and in the individual to understand what cyber resilience they need to put in place, and also where they go for that help, and who do they tell when they've had an incident, how far reaching it is. I think, the theme, the link in with AI as well is also key, I think, because as you said, there's good and bad to it all. And I do think AI obviously is also creating the threat, is creating the cyber attack, isn't it? I know that criminals are using it to actually create the threat that's attacking businesses, but likewise, the defense has become AI too. And I think that's the beauty of, that's what I said to you earlier, the beauty of AI is the really good and the bad. And obviously it's that person, that engineer up behind them, from what their motives are, good or bad. But it equally, I think it can be the defense mechanism as well. And I think it's small businesses understanding that buying an off-the-shelf cyber resilience program for your computer system at home isn't going to work anymore. In actual fact, you need to embrace what AI can do for you, to give you that defense line against any incidents or attacks that may happen. So yeah, completely agree.
Yeah, and just to give a sense of the issue, the average cyber attack now for an SME is costing it about £1,100. That's an average cost. For some, it'll be an awful lot more than that. And in reality, that cost doesn't really take into account the huge disruption that if you suddenly find yourself locked out of all your documents or your customer records, etc., that's hugely damaging to you. And I suppose another trend, Charlie, to your point, is that I know of at least one university in the Southwest that can't get cyber insurance anymore, and that's not because they're a bad organization. It's because insurance companies are getting very tight what they'll cover from a cyber protection perspective. So it just points to the fact that in an SME driven economy, having resources out there that are free and available that helps keep them safe, because they spend a lot of time focusing on bringing the money in and employing people, which is brilliant. To have that all then disappear because they've been attacked and fraud had a fraud committed on them is heartbreaking, really. So that's why we will remain focused on the Cyber Resilience Board to provide that assistance. And there's a growing number of organizations engaging with that, which is great.
I mean, the other thing I put on here as well, key trends, was the QR code phishing or the quishing that's going on. I mean, the number of people that this is now happening to, where the criminals have put obviously the QR code on a car park, and suddenly you're going through the process of just paying for your parking as normal. And again, AI is creating these platforms that look so much like the real thing that people are so far into the cyber incident, they don't even know they're in it. And then it's only afterwards, it's like, actually, why did it ask me for my address? And it's only afterwards that they question. And I think throughout all of this, I think the theme will be is how much we actually learn and how much we realize we need to know once an incident has happened. And we almost need to get the message out there. We want to tell you what you need to know before it happens to you, because the implications are huge. I mean, I think some of the figures I have sort of going on into our conversation, employers, new startup businesses that have a cyber attack or an incident are they go out of business. There's a high percentage, I think about 60% that go out of business following a cyber incident. So it's in all our interests to engage and to figure this out and how we get the information out there to SMEs.
And I think on the skills piece, Charlie, as well. I mean, we're fortunate in Somerset. We have the brilliant colleges that we have. Part of what they'll be tasked to do is to provide that future talent around cyber, so that companies, where they can, if they need to employ somebody to look at their cyber protection levels, that the talent is coming through. I mean, in general, there is a skill shortage across the piece, not just cyber, but having the colleges lean in, working with their schools partners to help grow the pipeline around these type of new technology opportunities is massively important. And I think it's fair to say these jobs tend to be higher paid, which is great for the economy. We have been characterized in the past as sort of being farming and food and agri, etc. But there is brilliant, there are brilliant technology companies in Somerset. And of course, we've had the amazing news about Gravity. We've still got EDF working in the background, but the new EV battery factory at Bridgwater is, again, another head turner, I think, for the county of Somerset, and it's brilliant. But skills, there's a shortfall, and in digital skills, an ever increasing focus to make sure the talent pipeline is coming through.
And the competition for that pipeline now, I think Gravity and the Agritas announcement obviously means that they need 4,000 workers. Suddenly there's an urgency for us all to be competing for those skills and those talented young people coming up. And I think making digital a core part of the curriculum, even from a very early age. I mean, we know digital technology is there for young people straight away, but it's making cybersecurity and their safety online a core part of their curriculum will help, I think, leading into the workplace too. So, yeah.
In terms of that, is there anything that the business community and education partners can do to work together, collaborate in order to ensure that there is a skill base there that is suitable for the need that is emerging?
Yeah, I'm a massive believer in just having a strong Venn diagram overlap between business and education. Tasha's college does that in absolute spades. The EDF and the supply chain programs around Hinckley have just been proof points. And Tash, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I remember my stats rightly, I think your college is the highest provider of apprenticeships.
That's right. Yeah,
in England,
very proud of that accolade too.
if not in England, if in the UK. Now that's an amazing thing, right? But in the end, academia needs, a steer from business what the skills pipeline should be. So if there are barriers, we need to all collaboratively work out how we break those down so that both industry and academia work in lockstep. Because if we don't, we're missing out, and our young people will miss out. And there is, despite challenges in the economy, if we look at Somerset specifically, there are some massive opportunities. Yes, it will cause some stress points because, as Tasha said, 4,000 new jobs, skill shortage already. How do you manage the EDF migration potentially of those people that finish at Hinckley, and where do they go? Do they stay in county, or do they go work at Agratas or somewhere else? I mean, there are some challenges underneath all of this, but what I actually see is huge opportunity for the economy. But it really requires, that close collaboration, which Tasha's college does in spades.
Yeah, I think that, that collaboration, that engagement with employers in our local area and nationally as well is key to our success, really. I think the work that I do with Digital Somerset in particular, and the wider team with the local chambers, trying to engage with employers to get this message out around the skills. And obviously recently we've got the LSIF funding, obviously, to help with that activity. So yeah, it's key. The partnership with Digital Somerset, social media as well. Getting a message out via social media. We collaborate jointly with employers around that on social media. We help them to recruit their digital apprentices online. Like I said, it's through the apprenticeship service account and things like that. So yeah, and all the events at the campuses, we try as much as we can to engage employers. I think, going back to what you said earlier, the barriers we face are the time. It's the time. A lot of our employers that we're trying to engage with are time poor. Some of them, cash flow is an issue. So as much as possible, we're trying to be mindful of that, having evening activities, helping with employer funding, particularly if they're hosting our T-level students, our digital T-level students, just making sure that we're sort of mindful of their limitations, if you like, so that we can overcome them for the greater good further down the line. So yeah.
So if you were looking then at the opportunity, I think we've started to kind of scope it out with 4,000 vacancies coming into Somerset, but just for wider organisation, the wider county, what do you think the opportunity looks like in sort of short term, 5 years time, longer term for Somerset?
Well, I think, you've got two big ticket items. I think one is obviously what happens around Hinckley and the eventual tail off of the workforce there, and what happens to those folk. And then obviously we've talked about Agratas. What I see, having a sort of technology background, is the increasing opportunity around tech, advances around AI, machine learning. And by the way, with AI, I prefer to think of it as augmented intelligence rather than artificial, because AI is not going to replace millions of jobs. It will hopefully make millions of jobs easier, but we need humans. So advances around that are hugely interesting and important for us, because even if you take our traditional bedrock industries like agriculture, some of the technology now that's being embedded in the agriculture sector is mind-blowing. One of the first sectors in the world to look at autonomous vehicles was farming.
Yeah.
Right. And now we're doing things like placing sensors in cows' stomachs so we can work out, what the health of the animal is, and provide even better all-round treatment. So there's a ton of activity going on that will probably accelerate. and I would say it's a real opportunity for Somerset. You've got big anchor institutions now, and an education system that has been providing very strongly. So there's the bit about adapting to the new technologies, because these things are happening at pace. But I sense that will happen, and I said near the beginning of all of this, I think Somerset's probably turning heads at the moment. Wow, I didn't know this stuff went on. There's a perception that you travel through Somerset. So I think it's all good.
Yeah. I agree. I think you're right, we've got a very unique demographic in Somerset. I think 99% of our businesses down here employ less than 250 employees. And I think, your reference to the agricultural world, they've been using some of this tech for years. But I do think, given our engagement with that sector for things like apprenticeships, you very much have to hold their hand technically for them to understand how to access, say, government platforms, getting them to register for their apprenticeship service account. There's a real lack of understanding their digital skills, that they're digitally naive, let's say, sometimes. And yet the paradox of that is they are using this tech heavily, but not truly understanding how it's working. It's just that, oh, it works, I'm using it, and this is what I do. So I do think there's still a training need around those organizations and that sector in particular, but also likewise, like I said, some of these smaller organizations, and we're made up a very high proportion of sole traders. So you've got a lot of carpenters. My husband is a gardener. They need to also understand that the data they are looking after for their customers, their bank details, their invoicing, they're using QuickBooks, so they need to understand about financial technology and the security that comes around that and protecting their customers' information. There is a complete lack of understanding there. Everybody's naturally got mobile data on the move. They're interacting with customers online, outside of their home environment, and they're using 5G. They don't know that that's not secure. They don't know that they're opening themselves up to they're vulnerable when they're on the move using this technology. So I think there's still the opportunity to get that message out. And what I'm really keen with my work with Digital Somerset is, particularly when we have different themes around the event, so we've got the upcoming Agritech event, is engaging with the different sectors so that the Digital Somerset community, who are so clever with tech and so clever with this digital knowledge around cybersecurity and everything else, but with these themes, we can get different sectors of our economy into the room so that we can explain to them what they need to know and bring them along with the knowledge that I'm no expert either. I'm very much a novice in all of this, but I've learned so much from attending these events and going to the workshops and stuff. And I'm really keen to get that out to the sole trader that's a carpenter, or to the plumber, so that they understand that more and more of their business has moved online, what protection they need to put in place for themselves as an individual, but also their business, because if they don't, and they have a cyber attack of whatever kind, they need to survive that. I don't want them to be part of that 60% that go out of business when they've had a cyber incident. So yeah, I'm really keen to use this relationship we have with Digital Somerset, the Chamber, people like that, to get this message out, because I think it's vital going forward for the future.
And this is shameless plug time, right? I said at the beginning that one of the boards that I'm involved in is the Southwest Cyber Resilience Centre. Now they're sanctioned by the Home Office. I think there's 9 in the UK. They are free resources, and they're backed up by all of the right agencies you would want to be offering you advice on staying safe. So if there was a message I would be giving to small businesses that are listening to this podcast, if you're not signed up to the Southwest Cyber Resilience Centre, just do it. It's free. It doesn't take long. They'll provide you with regular updates on the type of threats they're seeing and information around how you can stay as safe as you possibly can. Yes, there are other organizations that can then go in and offer you consultancy and paid for stuff, but as a basic protection layer and free up-to-date resources, then I don't think there's a better organisation, and it's not for profit and government sanctioned. So just Google Southwest Cyber Resilience Centre and join up if you haven't.
And Paul, is it recognised by because you mentioned earlier about insurance companies, because that was another thing I was looking at for this podcast was, you know, smaller businesses have a liability insurance, and is cyber security part of that, embedded within that liability insurance? And I realised it isn't. It's very much separate. They got to pay a separate cost, and obviously that's got its barriers as well, because of cash flow. It's another additional cost. But obviously, what you offer, does that help with that insurance? Does it?
It might well help. Some insurance companies might say, look, if you engage with the Cyber Resilience Centre and you're a member, they may well say, yes, you know, we're willing to accept you as a client. But regardless of that, there is a threat out there. These are free resources. Engage with it, because you might significantly reduce your chance of becoming a victim of fraud. And as I say, they're government sanctioned. They take advice from a whole range of folk, including the likes of National Cybersecurity Centre. So they have all the right inputs. They're led by the local police. They're actually led in Southwest by Devon and Cornwall Police, but all of the police forces in the Southwest take part in the running of the cyber centre. Is that the patron, if you like, of it is actually the Avon and Somerset Police and Crime Commissioner, Mark Shelford. So Mark and I sit on the board together. So it's free. Just engage. And then if you need that deeper level of cyber protection, there are consultants out there that can, you know, engage with you on a commercial basis. But this is a base layer, strong level of insight that is free to SMEs.
This actually leads into my final question, actually. So I was going to ask you to give, if you could, 3 really robust tips to somebody trying to support their own organisation as far as the cyber resilience piece goes. Obviously, you make some really amazing points there. Are there any additional tips that you would add to a list of 3 per se?
I've got my list here.
Go on, you go.
So the 3 things: training, first and foremost. I would say that is my job, but the training, I want to ensure employees are aware of the threats from those phishing emails. And I question marked as well, you know, maybe some sort of, like I said, mandatory training. I was hoping that some, you know, liability insurance would maybe just require that some people are aware, you know, can tick a box to say they're aware of the risks and what they're doing to protect themselves. And yeah, just for larger organizations, obviously, we're given that training. It is part of our organization. We've probably got cybersecurity insurance. It's part of something we've got to do. You know, if large organizations have got 1,000 staff, that's 1,000 individual risks that are coming into the business potentially. So we've all had training, but I'm sort of mindful that there again are organizations out there where there's, I don't know, a work team of 10. They don't have a boardroom that's going to sit and decide that people need to do this training. And those are the guys we need to reach out to for this training around cybersecurity. My second point was confidence, that they know, that everybody knows, if you're in doubt, you know who to ask or where to go. Because, you know, again, where does an SME go for that IT support? Paul, you mentioned what you do. I mean, if they're aware of you, great. They know where they can come to get some guidance and some, you know, like free training. And then the other thing was protection. Obviously, there's cybersecurity vendors are springing up now, these businesses. And I think more and more, as this sector grows, more and more will come into Somerset. So from my point of view, I kind of want to make sure as a college, we're engaged with those guys as well, so that we can make the necessary introductions to the SMEs we're working with, and to instill the importance of that protection, that business protection, and what it means.
Yeah, the bit that I just reinforced that the piece I said earlier, on the basis that if you think about it, we all spend lots of money trying to get lots of time and effort trying to get money through the till to grow the revenues as a business. But if then somebody is punching a hole in that and stealing your money through cyber threat, you're having to pedal increasingly hard to get the same output. So if you're investing in sales and business development, then invest in protecting your business as well, because as fast as you're earning it, it could end up being taken away by somebody else at the press of a button. So make that investment in time and effort. It is difficult, but you would do it to you invest that time in getting sales, invest the time in securing your business.
Yeah, very good advice. Very, very good advice. Well, I think that's about us for today for the Digital Somerset podcast. Thank you very much, Tash. Thank you very much, Paul, for joining us. And until the next one.
Thanks, Jane. Thanks, Tash.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.